Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about what halt or derail a transformation. So what kind of transformation are we talking about? So we're talking about the buzzword right now is digital transformation. And I would say, I would lump business agility and enterprise agility into that. So what is that? Let's quickly talk about that, how I see it. I lump those three things in together because I see the world as three stages, right? There is stage one where you have IT trying to get better at what they do, so they transform. They do agile, so they go to that transformation. Then the next step is this scaling, and the word may not be the right because when you talk about agile scaling, that's almost like, well, what is that? Okay, so that's a whole different topic about that, but it is in terms of scaling. How do we get work at a really big company, multi teams, big size corporation, Microsoft, you're talking about companies like that. So then you have this next stage, right? This next stage is where the entire company is moving, is able to pivot, is able to move with changes, is able to get ahead of changes, is able to innovate, right? And that itself is business agility. That itself is enterprise agility and digital transformation. So oftentimes when we talk about those three things, when we talk about agility in terms of that, what you would see is that you can't get away from agile, even though we try not to say agile as in agile software development, agile methodology. You can't get away from it because at the core of it is that you need that, and agile is the mechanism or the car that gets you there, right? And you want to get to business agility, you need something to get you from point A to point B, and agile oftentimes meet that criteria. So today we're going to talk about things that could derail and halt a transformation. So number one, I think this is very common, but it's not common enough where people remember it or people look at it. It's top management buy-in. When we talk about going towards enterprise agility, you really do need your top management to buy into this. And it's not just buying as in nodding their head and paying lip service, right? And we're talking conviction. We're talking about, yes, I'm going to go in this journey along with you, and we are going to go do this. And oftentimes what I see failure is that you get teams that are in, or not teams, companies that are in stage one where they are IT organization trying to go agile, and there is no buy-in from the top. And what happens is that you can just take it only as much. You take it to stage one, and you may take it to stage two where you're scaling, right, with multiple teams, and then you're going to hit this block, and you're going to hit it hard, and that's the management in place, right? And take, for example, look up ING, the insurance company or the bank. An insurance or bank? I don't know. It's ING anyway. So it's ING. It's a big financial corporation. They have very old traditional ways of doing things, but they managed to go past that. And if you look for those, there's one article in there that talk about where the CEO of the whole company, when they went through this, there was like 4 other financial institutions that was together moving along at the same time frame, and everybody kind of just halted. And ING came to the same thing where they got the point where they're like, there is no ROI. The ROI wasn't as good as what it was before. So why then go through this pain to do all this thing? Now what this CEO did was carry it a step further. He understands that there's more to it, right? And this person's, hey, I know that I need to make all these changes in order for us to get to the next step. And not until then did he see the jump in gains for him. So it requires somebody from the top to say, you know what, I know this is the right path and this is where we're going. And it's going to be hard, and we're going to go through that. So management buy-in, top management buy-in, it's important. It's important that they understand the why. It's important they understand, it's a big challenge to do it. So you definitely do need that. Now, if you have people that doesn't have what we call strong hands, it's almost like buying stock, right? And if you don't have strong hands and you get in and the market drop a bit, you freak out and you drop out, right? And you don't want that to happen. So you gotta have a strong conviction, a strong leader in place. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, the culture. So oftentimes we have companies that have very, very good culture. And when you look at it, the values, the things like that, it's about people, it's about how they treat their customers, treat their employees. They're all good things. Now, when we talk about culture here, I think slightly different. I think talk about the culture of how we do work. Okay, so I'm not saying that you have to throw away all your culture that are good, and then most oftentimes companies have good stuff, right? But we're talking about how you do work, the culture of doing work. Very traditionally, a lot of companies have this hierarchy, and they are command and control. And changing that needs to change. The command control has to change, right? So the culture in itself has to change. The command control has to change. You have to go towards where, it's a more of a sharing, more of a working together as one. And it's okay for managers to say, I don't know, I need help. It's inclusion. It's providing a safe environment for the people involved, for everybody to say, hey, this is not going to work, or hey, what about this? Let's try something new. So this is one of those that I have seen personally and how it impacts me. And I've been with companies that are traditional, where it's command control. I struggled to it, couldn't figure out why and how we're not moving forward until I met Josh Anderson. Now, Josh Anderson was able to provide a safe environment, and I could see that he was okay with, he was okay to let go and let me experiment. It's okay for me to fall and fail, but failing fast, learn fast. And between the 3 years that less than 3 years that I had the chance to work with him, I personally have grown multiple times, compared to my previous careers, right, or previous, engagement. And that is the power of a leader that is able to provide a learning culture, an experimenting culture, a safe environment. So culture has to change. Number three. Now, this is one of my top pet peeve that I have with companies today. This will derail your transformation very, very quickly, because what it does is that it pulls people back into old habits. And what is this? This is the performance review. This is the incentive. When your performance review is very old school, when it is very individualistic, it doesn't work well, because we are now in a team game. We're not an individual game. It's about the team. It's about us working together as one, not the individual. So this is critical in my mind, and we have now seen companies that have moved away, that is no longer doing performance review in the traditional way. Now, this is very hard, very challenging, because what do you do with it? How do you do it if you don't have performance review? How do I incentivize my employees to do work, right? There's a lot of how to do it, the questions of implementation, and that is the most difficult thing. We know that it doesn't work, but most of the time we don't know how to get it to work. Now, there are multiple companies out there that are doing experimentation. And I'm not going to say that I have the answer for it, but I would challenge you to look at what other ways could we do this, where we are looking at the team as a whole. What if there is no bonuses, and you put that into your base pay? I believe each of us come to work to deliver good work. We want to do well. We want to do the best we can do. So an example is how performance review goes bad. And we all know this. We all heard this before, right? And you may experience this in the customer support call center arena, right? And if you measure, and you say, I'm going to measure you on how many calls you take in a day. The more calls you take, it translates into more performance. Therefore, you're incentivized to do that. What happens? That alone creates bad habits. So I'm taking the call. Hello, can I help you? Bye. Boop. How many calls can I do that? Up, down, a lot, right? So your numbers go up the roof. Yoo-hoo, I'm a great employee. But wait. That's not the outcome we want, right? We want to solve our clients' problem. We want to solve and help people, right? And not just pick up, hello, bye, and you're done. So there are things around those. So there is a difference between performance in incentivizing habits and paying, bonuses or incentives towards good habits versus trying to get better. So I think there's two different things. I think there's this notion that we pay people so they can get better. If we don't pay them, they're not going to get better. I don't think that's true. If we give them the outcome as to why we're doing things, and I think people will eventually want to be better at what they do. Number 4. So oftentimes, when I'm engaged in talking to individuals and companies, I hear this. It's just a process. We can change our process and we're done. And that is a dissolution. And you would see this. You're going to have companies that, so if you look down at the lower levels in stage 1, for example, where teams are running Agile, the Agile methodology, and you will see them doing stand-up, you will see them doing all the ceremonies and things like that, but they don't know why. They may be running Scrum, okay? They may be running SAFe and Scale Agile framework, but they don't know why. They're just following it blindly. And to them, they said, oh, it's just a process. Let me go get all my staff, all my employees trained, certified. Yay, we are going to be successful. That is not true. Okay, that is not true. It will stop you. I mean, you can only go so far. You will not get to business agility. You will not get to enterprise agility. You will not get to what we call a digital transformation. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that far. And you often see in companies, you can tell when you talk to the individuals, they've been in it for a long time and they constantly churn, right? Because they haven't got it yet. Because to them, it's just a process. It's not a process. It is a mindset. It is how we look at work, the thinking behind how we look at work. It is willingness to look at it and say, you know what? That is a waste. We don't need to do that because it has no value. It doesn't add any value to what we're trying to deliver to our customer. Number 5. Now, this is another one of the business thing where every company, every business has a vision, but oftentimes it's a very fluff one, or it's on the walls. Nobody really care about it because it's just cool to have it. Cool to have it on a webpage, for example. Sharing your vision, sharing your plans, and sharing why you do business is important. Now, this is very, very clear if you look. An example is Richard Sheridan's Joy Inc. Or, he created a book called Joy Inc. His company, Mental Innovation. Look it up, Google it. And how he got to the point where he is, and he has to figure out why is he in business? What is he trying to achieve? Now, when he is clear in providing the information to his people that he worked with, people that work for him, it changes everything. The company is able to move faster, they're more innovative, their people are more motivated. So it's important to know how do we share that. We're not just talking about simple, we are gonna, make XYZ amount of money. That's not it. It's the why behind it. And this goes back to, what another great motivator that I enjoy is Simon Sinek. The why. Why are we doing what we're doing? So it's important that you understand the why. You can provide that why. And oftentimes you see good leaders that can do the why, provide the why. You can see that the company changes really fast. Okay, we're down to number 6. You're trying to look for a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. There is no fast way of getting there. It is painful, it is hard, it is not easy to go through a transformation. Picking SAFe off the shelf and saying, I'm going to implement SAFe and this is going to take us there. No, that is not the answer. SAFe alone isn't a silver bullet. If you understand SAFe, if you fully get what SAFe is trying to achieve, you understand why. Agile is not a silver bullet. Agile by itself, I don't think it's enough. You need more stuff, right? You need more things around it. So it's not a silver bullet. So oftentimes people say, okay, let's look at the team and we're going to put in Scrum and everybody's going to be happy. No. Scrum is a simple, easy framework. But there are other things that you need to add to it to make it work really, really well. So there is no silver bullet. Okay. So don't think that you can easily get there. It takes, I believe, 8 years for Microsoft to actually pivot. Microsoft, right? From where they were to today. And if you look into what they're doing today, it's so much different. 8 years for a technology company that shares their vision really well, that has the, in my mind, good people in it, right? It takes a long time. So it's not a, tomorrow morning we wake up and we are now agile, we are now business agility, we are ready to rock and roll. No, it takes a long time to get there. So along with number 6, it is number 7, right? Don't do it alone. Seek help. You don't have to do it alone, okay? There are a lot of companies out there that are doing it, that's willing to share their knowledge. There are good people out there. There are good consultants out there. There are good companies out there. That understand the how. They've been there, done that, and willing to help you get there. Now, there are good folks and there are bad people out there too, right? And there are people that hasn't gone through the transformation before. So you have to find the right person. You have to find the people that will fit you in your journey. So seek help. An example is when I did this a long time ago, when I tried to run Agile, when I tried to run Scrum, all I understand was, hey, there's daily stand-up, and I read the book, and pick it up, and I tried to do it. I fell flat. It was flat. It was horrible. People hated me, It was a big waste of time. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any help. I didn't have anybody to ask for questions. Now, fast forward, when we were doing transformation now together, or, you call it transformation, you call it, implementation, what do you want to call that? But with Josh Anderson's help, with Monica Millsap, both with good Agile experience, they were able to help the company navigate, able to get the department navigating the waters of Agile, right? So Agile is a component, is a small part that leads you to the bigger path. So you got to do the bottom first well, then slowly move up the space. So that alone, when I have the help, when I have the support from the community, there are a lot of meetup groups out there. There are a lot of people out there that's willing to help. Look for those people. There are good coaches out there. Bob Galen for one. You got good people like Mike Cohen. Right? You have, if you don't want, there are big companies that can do some of those stuff. McKinsey, for example. If you don't want the big companies, you got the smaller companies. You got Leading Agile, for example. Each has their own flavor. Each has what they call their playbook. Each has their own style. Find one that works for you. But don't do it alone. Get help. Number 8, and I see this where conversation happened. Oh, well, it's just a role. We don't need to change the title. We are, we're going to call, our traditional title is project manager. We're going to leave that title alone. They're going to be project manager. And we're going to ask them to become a product owner, for example. We don't need to change roles because it's just, we don't need to change title. It's just a role. Now, I have issues with that. Here's why. So imagine this. You have a person in charge of the project manager. So he may be he is the manager director of project management, right? Now this person has a project manager that works for him. In this journey to transformation, we say, hey, Mr. Project Manager, we want you to become a product owner. Here's how, and everything like that. Cool. This person go and learn all the stuff, right? And they're executing it as a product owner. They're learning. They're getting better at it. And maybe the director left. The director leave and go somewhere else. You have now another person coming to play, right? A new person. And they come in, they say, well, I've got project managers. They should be doing this. They should be managing my project. Why are they not doing that? Why are they, doing these things? Why are they not doing it? Because they don't have the right thinking. Do you have all your roles written down do you have all your job title with their roles written down? I bet you they're not. I bet you they're not. So what happens is that there's no role clarity. People get confused. So now you got this new manager coming in telling the project manager now, no, don't do that. Don't do the product owner stuff because the industry says this is what project manager needs, so you need to be doing that. So that's one. Now what about the flip side happen? Right, we're hiring. We're going to hire a project manager. Project manager, come on in, we'll hire you. Your title is project manager. And you're going to run this agile project, right? This person may not have the knowledge of a product owner. They come in and say, oh, I've done project management before. Okay, cool. They come in, and I would guess most of the time you don't have time as a manager to train this person, and you're so busy that you let them run because you hire them. You believe they can do the job. Now, this person coming in, he's going to have previous experience, and they're going to bring the experience with them. And it's going to be, hey, this is how we run project management. This is how I run my project. No, product ownership is not something we're going to do. And they're going to do it differently. And guess what? Right there and then, it brings you back to the steps before. You're trying to move transformation ahead. Remember, transformation takes years, right? So you're trying to move forward, and then all of a sudden you get pulled back. So to me, it's important that we understand the roles. We understand and make sure that everybody is involved understand. So role clarity is something that I would say you probably need to tackle. Product analyst, product owner. Title product analyst, role product owner. I think there's some confusion. Number 9, training. So training is something that most people will do off the bat. I think good companies will understand that they need to train their people with new skills in order to move forward, right? So we talk about, there's a lot of countless training that's available, that's out there. Understand and pick the right ones. Not every one of those is right. Okay, so pick the right ones. Books, as a leader of the organizations, you may want to look into books. As you read through those things, have your team members look at the books. Have your staff look at the books. One of the books that I love a lot is Turn This Ship Around. Really love the book because it goes through how a person in command in chief of a submarine had to turn around the morale, how they do stuff in this old submarine, and read that book. I think that's really awesome, right? So things like that, sharing of knowledge, setting up community for learning. And for example, you can set up what's called like a meetup within your company if your company is big enough. Set up a guild, for example. You can look at external trainings that's available for your company. So training is key. Training is important too. So don't skip on those things. You have to train them. And sometimes what I hear is that people are busy. I can't send my managers for this 2-day training. I just need a 1-hour training. We can give you a 1-hour training. Is it enough for them to move? Maybe, but probably they're gonna stumble. So they need help, right? So the training, make sure you understand what those trainings are. Make sure that you understand what the outcome that you want from your training. So be looking into that and make sure that's in the right thing. So those are the 9 things. So how do I move forward? What do I need to do? So if you're listening to this, if you're thinking about, well, cool, awesome. So how do we move forward? So one, I think it goes without saying that you need good leaders, right? You need leaders that can move forward. You need leaders that can learn and achieve experimentation, that have the right mindset. So can you train people? Can you move people from their old ways of thinking to new ways? There are a lot of things available to you. There are materials, there are books, right? And it also comes from you as the leader, as the CEO, as the person in charge. It actually falls on you too. Your behavior, the way you react to things, sets the tone for how things is going to behave. If you're very traditional command and control, guess what? Everybody else below is going to be command and control too. If you change your behavior, everybody else changes as well. And that, it's very apparent. So look at the book that I mentioned before, Turn the Ship Around. Send the people you have, or take the certified agile leadership class, and I think that's great. I've taken it myself, and I believe it helps. It changes the way we think about things. It helps us approach things differently. Okay, it requires a whole different ways of thinking. Books, countless of hours doing research, experimentation. Be okay with letting go. So those are the things. Find the right people. It's a journey by itself. It is not easy. Agile is a mechanism that helps you get there. That may not be all there is to it. There is lean, for example, the lean mindset in play. So do not falter, do not give up. It takes years. It's not easy. It is a long, hard transformation. But can it be done? Absolutely, yes, it can. The bigger you are, the longer you are in business, the more difficult it's going to be, the harder it is for you to move the ship, because the ship is so big, right? But is it worth it? Absolutely. Once you get there, you will realize that how easy things are now compared to what it was before. So this is probably one of my longest one. I hope this has some value to you. Would like to get some feedback. Thank you for joining me. Bye.